So hi, this is Lilia from Heal Scotland with the Help Yourself podcast even. And with me tonight I have Bryce. What's your surname again, Bryce? Sorry?
Redford.
Bryce Redford. Now Bryce, the first time I saw Bryce was in Malta on the stage at Dr Joe Dispenzas advanced course. And you were up telling the story of your healing progress, and you just blew everybody away. It was a really powerful story, and because obviously you're Scottish, I was like, I need to get to speak to this man, because it's so nice, I think, for Scottish people to hear the Scottish accent and somebody down to earth like yourself. I think, you know, like I said to you earlier, it's just so inspirational. I think you're a real inspiration for other people. So do you want to just tell everyone exactly what your health challenges were and the label that you have?
Well, I suppose I had some symptoms and I went to my GP, and without any real testing, well, actually without any testing, the GP called me back after the surgery closed and said, it's bad news for you, you've got MS. Which came as a bit of a shock, given I'd only gone in with some symptoms to do with my balance and stuff. Subsequently, I got an MRI. It was inconclusive, basically saying there was nothing in my MRI that was out of the ordinary, but the label of MS was kind of left there, and I got referred to a neurologist to have a chat around options and choices. I didn't at any point believe the diagnosis, and certainly not the prognosis, and I had some really tough conversations with the neurologist, who said I was in denial, which was quite an interesting perspective on things. And,
sure.
But I didn't have symptoms for a long time. I basically forgot about it and sort of kind of got on with my life. And I was offered what they call disease-modifying drugs, and I chose not to take them, mostly because I didn't have any real symptoms, and also because they have potential significant side effects. And the one that they were looking at was you had to inject yourself every day, and I was thinking that was a bit extreme. And I had quite a good chat at the neurologist at the time, because I said, have you heard of the placebo effect? And he was quite excited about that. He said, yes, if we could just harness the placebo effect, it would be fantastic. I said, well, have you heard of the nocebo effect? And he didn't really laugh as much on that one.
Did you not tell him you're a friend of Dr. David Hamilton's?
I didn't say that. I'm not sure you know who David was, but yeah, I just found the whole thing quite a stretch and quite difficult. Because at that time I probably had quite a white coat syndrome. It's quite common in Scotland where, you know, if a doctor says something, you almost accept and believe it, or before you even consider it.
So you were actually given the diagnosis without any tests?
Yeah.
Yes, that's unusual, I would have thought.
It's very unusual. Anybody I've spoken to since said, oh, they had to go through loads and loads of tests, and eventually they got
it comes out.
Yeah. So I think it was a bit weird.
Describe your journey then from there to on that stage in the Intercontinental in Malta. Tell us about that.
Well, having David as a friend, and also some of the stuff that I've done personally, I've done NLP and coaching and various other sort of personal development stuff. I knew that whatever symptoms I was having in my life or my body, I was creating it at some level. I was creating them myself. I didn't necessarily know how.
Yeah.
I did feel that, you know, I was creating them. And from a medical perspective, 95% of conditions that are chronic tend to be lifestyle orientated. And that's a very broad classification. It could be anything from the food you eat, the environment you're in, to the activities you do. And, you know, it covers all aspects of your life. But I thought, if it's lifestyle orientated, then surely I can make some changes and reverse whatever the condition was. And I've done a lot of things over the years which Joe Dispenza would call matter to matter. So I've done detoxes. I ran some detoxes retreats out in Spain and Turkey. I've done several juice detoxes. I've done a water fast, a 21-day water fast actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to come back to that.
I got some really good results with that actually. I've done emotional clearing. I've done EFT. I've done a huge range of things, osteopathy, acupuncture, you name it, if it's out there. And I thought there was an opportunity for it to help me on my journey. I've tried it, and for the most part remained very optimistic up until fairly recently when I started, because my walking deteriorated quite significantly over the last 18 months. And I started to lose a bit of that kind of optimism. It's almost like it started to get the better of me.
Sure. And was there any obvious reason for that? Was there anything that had happened, or?
No, I think at some level I had unconsciously accepted the neurologist's suggestion that said, if you don't want our drugs, come back when you need a wheelchair. And I think maybe at some level I did kind of...
Subconscious had heard that.
Must have subconsciously heard that. Because recently I did end up needing a wheelchair for walking anything or going any more than probably 10-15 meters. I was either a wheelchair or using a mobility scooter, which was quite a challenge just getting over it from a psychological perspective.
Yes, I'm sure. So then what happened? How did you end up? Had you done any of Joe's work before that? Or?
Well, I'd come across these books and I'd read Evolve Your Brain, and then I'd read You Are the Placebo, and I had just started reading his latest one, Changing the Habit of Being Yourself, I think it's the title.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying the stuff, and I do like the science, because obviously I've read all of David's stuff, and I've actually helped a lot of other people clear physical problems using NLP before. So yeah, I thought actually this is worth exploring, and I think the science got me more hooked into it. Got quite an interest in the scientific background, and then the opportunity came up to do the progressive workshop in Edinburgh when Joe came to the Edinburgh Conference Centre. That'd be May last year.
Yes, that's right.
So I thought, managed to get a ticket, and I thought, okay, I'll go along and see it. Because I tried his meditations, and as he said, he gets lots of hate mail about his space-time meditation, the original one. And I really hadn't been able to get into his meditations particularly well. I'm thinking, there's something here that I know there's a nugget here, but I was really struggling to... his voice grated with me initially as well, going, the way he's doing it, the whole thing just went, nah. But persevered and went to the progressive, and I got a lot out of the progressive. And I thought, actually, there is something here that's worth exploring further. And he mentioned the Malta retreat at the Progressive Edinburgh, and I set my intention to go to the Malta retreat, which was in November. Didn't know how I was going to get there, but I set my intention.
Tell the story about how you just flew over there. Well,
it started off with I'd got really reorganised, I thought, and I knew the time when the booking was going to open. I was organised, got the money organised, and a whole heap of things happened that meant by the time I actually got it on, it was sold out. I tried the link, and the link didn't work. When I'd converted the money to dollars, it wasn't going to be available to the Monday. And it was like every single thing you could possibly imagine was getting in the way. And I thought, I didn't understand it at all, because I absolutely saw myself
there.
Malta.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, we'll book the flights, we'll book a hotel, we'll go to Malta anyway. And worst case, we'll do the walking meditation on the beach. We'll hang around and soak up the coherence, and at least have a bit of warmth in November instead of the cold weather in Scotland.
So your wife and your mother-in-law and your daughter all came.
Yeah,
on holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, mother-in-law came to look after Alex because we were planning to go to the workshop. So we actually had set everything up as if we were going to the 1 week advance. So we acted as if we were going.
Yeah.
And but it was, we arrived on the Sunday and there's still no sign of us actually being able to go. And we were kind of going, well, at least we'll have a nice week in Malta. And the intention was to meditate for the week anyway, and really get into the atmosphere and go along to the beach and do a walk and meditation on the beach and do all those things that we thought we'd be doing anyway. And then on the Monday morning, I got a text to go, we've got a place. And it was completely out of the blue. I could not have predicted it. It was a series of people behind the scenes had conspired, is the only way I could say it, to arrange for me to be there. And it absolutely blew me away.
And how did you end up on the stage?
That's a good question, actually. As part of the way Joe's workshop, as you've obviously been to the workshop, he has groups with a team leader, and we had a group of 50. And the previous day, I had quite a profound moment when I got an insight in the toilet, of all places. And I came out the toilet walking without walking sticks. But my whole body was shaking, like a very high vibration was going through my body. But I was able to walk right across the room without any aids, and that I haven't been able to do that for well over 18 months. And so it was quite profound. And that afternoon, I spent a couple hours actually up in the garden because I couldn't stop shaking. And it was just basically grounding and letting my body process what was effectively a massive release of energy.
Yes.
And the team talk that evening, the team leader had said, have anybody got anything to share? And I was I was actually busy watching everybody and kind of going, wonder who's going to share anything. And I never thought for a minute, and then Alison turned to me and went, are you serious? Like, after your day, you're not going to share anything? And I went, okay. So I shared my experience with the group, and it was everybody found it quite emotional and moving. And I didn't have a clue what I'd said. I remember speaking to the group and not knowing what I'd said at all. Anyway, the team leader came up afterwards and went, we're having a get together tonight. I'd like to share your story with Joe and the rest of the team. And if he asked, would you be interested in speaking on the stage tomorrow? I said, yeah, fine. And I didn't really think much about it. And the next day, I got a message at about 10 o'clock going, Joe would like to have a chat with you just about your story. And then there was quite a few people there. And he was listening to different people's experiences, and from there just deciding who he was going to invite up to have a chat.
Yes.
And so I had a chat with them, went back down, and then a very short while later, I got a team leader come up and went, right, you're going on now.
So that was you.
So no preparation or anything. It was just a case of, there you go, on you go.
So just in case anybody that's listening doesn't know who Joe Dispenza is, much as he's a huge part of our world, Joe Dispenza is a leading neuroscientist, chiropractor who helps people to heal by thought alone. The advanced course is a lot of advanced meditations, which uses different techniques to help us tap into different data streams of information so that healing can happen and the past can be released. So, I mean, it's such the work is so exciting. And that was day one that happened for you, was it?
I got some benefits day one, but this was, I think, probably the Thursday. I actually have no concept of the time.
So it was a few days in.
It was a few days in. We did the walking meditation, and I had some energy.
It must have been the Thursday then, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we did the walking meditation. It was after that that things started. So I got some movement in terms of energy in the walking meditation, and then that afternoon it was like a complete insight, and then all hell.
Wow. Fantastic. And would you say, because obviously, you know, we want everybody to know about this work because it's one of the things, as you already said, you've been doing lots and lots of other things and if you hadn't been doing these other things, you may have been a lot sicker. You know, that's the thing. We tend to think, well, I'm not as better as I want to be, but then you have to think, if you hadn't done these things, where would you be? You know, so the mind the mind really is a huge part of any diagnosis. Would you not agree? How do you sit down and meditate when your thoughts are all over the place?
Well, I've done meditation before. I've done a meditation called Ascension, which it's a closed eye meditation taught by Shia monks.
Ah, yeah.
I found that a really good meditation. And I've done another meditation, which is Holosync.
Yes. Yeah, I used to do that too. It's a brain training.
Brain training stuff. I've done binaural beats. So I've done various things. Again, all on the idea of releasing trapped energy, clearing stuff from the past. So, I mean, the list goes on. But so I come across meditation before, but nothing quite like the way Joe does it.
Nobody does it like Joe.
No, yeah. I mean, when he talks about science as the modern or contemporary language for mysticism, it's like, you don't say. Yeah, I found it to be able to sit down and do it. I do find my body does fight back every so often. It's when the body, as he calls it, is the mind. I do find sometimes it's not so much thoughts in my head, but my body, like my leg going, you need to get up, or you're twitching, or other kind of stuff like that. But the more I've been doing it, the easier it's getting for the most part. Sometimes it gets easier, and then
harder.
Oh my God, that was hard.
And what one do you do? Because again, I know that Joe says it doesn't matter what ones you do in terms of healing, but I always think if you're doing something that you really like and that you feel is really working, surely that must be having a positive impact at a cellular level.
Well, there's probably two ones that I find really make a difference. Well, maybe three actually. And a lot of it's based on what he said at the workshop. And also, I don't know if you've seen his series on Gaia TV called Rewire.
Yeah.
So his very last episode, episode 12, talks about the blessing of the energy centers. So the blessing of the energy centers meditation, and he explains the science behind why that is actually quite effective in terms of rebalancing the body. So I do that one every morning. So I get up at a ridiculous time in the morning.
Good for you. What time? What ridiculous time?
Well, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock or 5:30 to make sure I could fit it in on top of the work I do. And what I did find though is it took me a minute to get into that habit. When I got back, I was trying to fit it in at different times during the day. So I'd go, right, fit it in this slot, I'll fit it in that slot. And I actually had to step back and go, what's important? And it's, you know, if I prioritize this as the most important thing, then actually I would I'll get up at 5:30 in the morning. And it's actually quite a nice time to get up. And as he puts it, your body's still resting. So although you're meditating, your body's still getting the rest it needs. In some ways, it's rest and revitalization. So the blessing of the energy centers is like a core one. I keep trying to do and I've failed miserably, but I keep wanting to do the Kaleidoscope. So, but that's one I'd like to do in the evenings, but I just have not managed to get myself disciplined enough to do that because it's now only 48 minutes. And it's on top of everything else, it's quite a big one. But the other ones are the walking meditation. I absolutely love the walking meditation. I find that's really profound, particularly given the challenges I've got with walking. Being able to get out and actually be able to consistently do the walking meditation in full. It's profound in many levels for me, and it's psychologically important. And the other one is space, time, space. So those are the three. There's other ones I like, but in terms of I would say those are the core, and for the reasons that they're focused on really getting your body in sync and aligned.
Absolutely. I think blessing of the energy centers in terms of actual physical healing just makes the most amount of sense, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Much as obviously anytime you connect to that space, if you like, you're going to experience some form of healing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's now like, what, 2 months since we were there? So how are you feeling now? What, because obviously you had that profound experience, and
Mm-hmm.
and this is the other thing, I think, is that patience. I don't know if it was you and I that were talking about it, if it was another man that was there that's come out of a wheelchair as well, and he was saying, he's just getting incrementally better and better. I think we'd all love that, like, yes, throw away all your, canes and your meds and run a marathon. Whereas for most of us, healing is a journey that we need to almost like stick at, to keep getting the results that we want. Tell me how it's been for you?
I think it's definitely incremental, and some days it gets worse, strangely enough. And it can get worse and more difficult. Mm-hmm. And it's just, in some levels, it's almost like the old body's the mind, as he would put it, resisting changing. And what I really got out of both the progressive and Malta was, you have to do the work. As somebody once said, overnight successes normally take years.
I know.
So actually having the commitment to myself to do the work and get up every morning, do the meditation. If I'm feeling like I'll actually meditate at lunchtime, doing the generous present moment. It's nice.
Yes.
It allows me to recenter. It's about 45 minutes, so I can grab
a nice time. Yeah.
Quick bite and do a meditation at lunchtime if need be. But actually that commitment, and it's a commitment to myself, not anybody else. And there's so many reasons I could give myself to not do it. I'm too tired. It's too hard.
Absolutely, I know.
Yeah.
And what is your work? Because that's another thing, that I think for a lot of people, if you get a really challenging diagnosis and or prognosis, you've still got overheads to pay, you've got, a family to be there with. And I really feel for healing, we need to take, not take your family away, but take all the overhead situation away so that you don't have to be worrying about all these other things and you can focus 100% on healing. Because a big stress for a lot of my clients is juggling all these different balls, because the bills have to get paid, Yeah. So what is it you do? How have you managed that?
I work full time doing, it's basically systems development and change, and the change associated with that. So working with computers, technology, and people, and processes, with a major IT system. So it can be quite demanding in time, and I don't always have a 9 to 5. Sometimes days are longer, just through demands of the job. But I think it's important, certainly for me, it would be interesting just to be able to stop everything, stop the bus and focus 100% on, getting better, healing, whatever things I thought I needed to do that. Yeah. But in some ways, I felt that would be almost like giving up on life, because life doesn't stop because I happen to have some difficulties.
No, and it can be counterproductive. You've got a lot more time to think, potentially worry, etc. Examine the body, all of that.
Yeah. And when Joe talked about his accident, he talked about having to lie on his back for 6 weeks, and he was continually focusing on it. And some of the people who I've seen had amazing results through doing Joe's work and said they were doing 6 to 8 hours a day.
I know.
And actually, for many people, that it could sound like an excuse. That is actually not practical in terms of day-to-day stuff, day-to-day life. But I suppose it depends on how bad your situation is, what you're willing to do to and move it forward. For me, I'm steadily improving, albeit it's sometimes 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, as my body recalibrates. But I'm getting improvement from, you know, having that commitment to probably at least 2.5 hours a day meditating. And actually, I probably could increase it, and it's all about trade-offs.
Yes.
And I want to make it sustainable. So if I suddenly went all in with everything and give up my job and stuff, it wouldn't be sustainable.
Exactly.
And
do you think that you know, the amount of time that you meditate is always a big kind of conversation factor for the people that do Joe's work. You know, this idea that if you do it for 3 hours, 4 hours, you know, realistically, you would think, well, if I practice the piano for a lot longer, I'll be a better pianist. So going along these lines of thinking, but I think there's also an optimum time when you're maybe not even meditating anymore. You're just keeping your eyes closed so that you can tell yourself that you're meditating. You know, and I know in the second 4.5 hour meditation that we did, that's pretty much what I did for the last hour. I was just like, you know what, I just need to keep my eyes closed and be here. And, you know, I didn't really feel. So I think it's the quality, I suppose, versus the quantity. And I think if you can really, for my personality, I'm good for short, you know, I can really laser in. But then after a certain amount of time, I'm gone. So I wonder about that. It's how good are you at holding your focus?
I think the quality is really important. And I'm finding holding my focus for the kind of hour, 15, hour and a half is getting easier. Depends what's coming up for me in terms of what changes, what's been released. It's sometimes easier or harder. And sometimes I might be drawn to do a bit more. And I really want to do the Kaleidoscope meditation because I found that quite profound. I realized that one important part of the formula, as he calls it, that I didn't have quite right, because I didn't know about the mind movies until we got the email on the Monday. So I tried to do a mind movie on my mobile phone, and ideally that is pretty different to that. So I had a make-do mind movie, but that idea of painting a compelling picture of the future is really, really important. And I found the Kaleidoscope really good at that. So I'm in the process of setting some new goals for the future and also creating my mind movie so that I can do the Kaleidoscope with the mind movie and actually use that as a key part of kind of stepping into my future self, as Joe would say.
Yeah, and yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the Kaleidoscope's getting you the frequencies of the brain right, and I also think the mind movie helps you to get the elevated emotion. You know, mine was a kind of make-do movie as well, because right up until the Friday before, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to go because my mum was ill. So therefore, I hadn't really, you know, psychologically, I wasn't kind of excited about it because there was so much going on at home. And then, but I'd put something together. But then I realised at the course it could be a lot more exciting and a lot better than it was, because it wasn't really, that was about the Heal Scotland movement, and it wasn't really portraying, because what I will do is that the my mind movie, people will be able to look at it and see what my vision is for Scotland's health trajectory. So it needs to be good. It needs to be like, okay, so if we do this, if we can all pull together and start, you know, doing a lot more of these things, getting back outside, like, you know, that's the big message about Heal Scotland, is back to nature, fresh air, you know, and working with her laws and her cycles, because modern Western life is really taking us away from, you know, so many of these things. There's so many straws have gone onto the camel's back now. It's very difficult to know where to start, but we have to make it easy. We have to make it has to be fun as well, I think.
Absolutely.
You know, it has to be doable. So let's just go back a little bit. So how long is it since you were diagnosed?
Probably this one was just almost 10 years ago.
So that's quite a long time.
So I didn't really get any symptoms till I had an accident and fell down 2 flights of stairs 5 years ago. And after that, although I twisted my ankle and that healed, my walking slowly started deteriorating from then. And then, yeah, it just got worse after that.
So you just, and how did you, I know you said, I want to talk to you about the 21-day water fast. You've tried lots and lots of things. How did you decide what you were going to try? How did you, was it your own research online, or?
It was a combination of research and also speaking to people who had different diagnoses, particularly neurological ones, and going, what are you doing? What do you find works? One of the things that I found really, really helpful is hyperbaric oxygen.
Yes.
So I found that of all the things I've tried, that's one thing that I go, although it's matter to matter, as Joe would say, it's something that consistently and reliably helps.
Yes.
So,
I actually had, we've got one in Lochgilphead, I think I told you that, the village that I'm living in right now. And the man who's I don't know what his title is, but he travels quite extensively, he's huge into oxygen, talking about the enormous benefits, healing benefits. And I said, I want to do a podcast with you because I'm sure there's people in the area right here that could benefit from it, but they don't know anything about it. So that's really good that you brought that up. You've just reminded me I need to do some more research into it, even just for simple falls and breaks and cuts. It can really help. Well, it can help any type of healing, really.
I think it improves healing of breaks and bones by 60 or 70%. Almost half the time of healing. It's just quite phenomenal, actually.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
And the idea of breathing oxygen under pressure, effectively, what it means is it's getting oxygen deeper into your tissue.
Yeah, he told me all the stats, and I need to write them down and get them in here. Yeah, my friend who has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, she's using it as well. So for cancers, it can be really powerful as well. So that's great. So really just researching yourself and talking to other people. And tell me about the 21-day water fast. Where did you do that?
I actually did it at home while I was working.
Oh, did you? Good for you.
And I came out of reading, I was doing some reading around about what people have done, because I've done a lot in diet. So I went gluten-free. I found that helped huge amounts. Generally, a ketogenic diet I found a ketogenic diet incredibly, I find it good for my overall health and well-being. As part of doing that, I was working about fasting, that they've done quite a lot of research around that, particularly Russia and Germany, of all places. In Germany, they've got fasting wings in hospitals. So they actually, and there's some quite good documentaries out about it. But what I'd come across was a guy in Turkey who had been given a diagnosis of MS, and he had eyesight problems and stuff as a result. It was a degeneration or macular degeneration. There's a technical term for it. And he went and did a 21-day water fast, and all his symptoms disappeared.
Wow.
He went to Costa Rica to do it, and I thought, I'm not really going to Costa Rica to do it, but I can do a 21-day water fast. So I got David Fung's book, which is about fasting, read all about it, did some research, and then just went and did a 21-day water fast. And it was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I mean, after the third day, it was pretty much sort of reasonably straightforward. If anything, my energy improved. I felt fantastic. My walking improved. Lots of little symptoms disappeared. Because what it does, it stimulates stem cell regeneration, stimulates human growth hormones, and it also stimulates a process called autophagy.
Yes, that's the big buzzword just now. Yeah. And how do you say it?
Well, it depends on which side of the pond you are. It's autophagy on this side of the pond, autophagy on the other side of the pond. Tomatoes. And so it stimulates that, which is the process of kind of cellular regeneration. So I found that really good. It's interesting, on one of the last of Joe's Rewired things, he talks about realigning the energy centers using fasting. So I've done, I've done that. And I did enjoy 21 days. Breaking the fast, you've got to be careful. So I broke it with bone broth for about a week and light steamed vegetables and stuff. So I was very careful breaking the fast. But you name it, I've kind of went, if there's an opportunity there that I can take full responsibility for my own health.
Yes.
What I realised was I did have the white coat syndrome about, if you're ill, you go to the doctors.
Mm-hmm.
But the big insight I got was actually the doctors don't know. They only know what they've been trained in.
Mm-hmm.
The medical model isn't really geared up for anything that isn't acute. So if you break your leg or have something that happens that you need immediate medical attention,
Mm-hmm.
the medical profession is absolutely fantastic for that. When it comes to anything that is chronic, they don't really know. And
we're still treating the symptoms and not looking at the root cause.
Yeah.
Which is what we have to do. And obviously you've talked about the emotional stuff as well, because that's such a huge stressor for the immune system as well. So was EFT the main talk therapy that you used?
No, interestingly, it was timeline therapy was the main one I used.
Ah, okay, because you did NLP, of course.
Yeah, so I did timeline therapy. EFT was an interest on top of that. I didn't generally find EFT was quite effective for very small specific instances, but I found the timeline therapy very, very effective.
Yes.
And again, it's I'm mentally, emotionally quite in a good place. Very little stresses me, which is good. And I still haven't got the key yet of what's the difference that's going to make a difference. I have a very strong belief, though, that I'm going to wake up one morning and just step out of bed and be walking normally. And that's that only solidified back again after doing the Malta retreat. I believed it before, but it was like I believed it, and then the doubt was creeping in.
Yes.
Now I go, it's just a matter of time. It's not.
It's in the post. Absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me. What type of MS was it that you were diagnosed with?
Well, they didn't even tell me. They just went.
Is that right? Just gave you the big label.
The big label, yeah.
The voodoo curse, as Joe calls it.
Yeah, and I go, what? But the bottom line is, it's just a label for a collection of symptoms. They don't know what causes it. And when I really think about it like that, it doesn't become so scary. It's just a word. It's like saying chocolate. You're suffering from chocolate. It's as meaningless as that.
I know. I remember my son saying to me, arthritis is just achy joints. And you're like, well, yeah, that's exactly it. The labels they do so much damage, we now understand as well. But what advice would you give to anybody who's maybe watching this, who's been given the same label? What would you say is the thing that has helped you most? And how do you stay hopeful and keep out of fear of the future?
Good one. Main one is absolutely focus on what you want. In the UK culture, it's quite a dominant thing about all the things we don't want. Just that one thing of going, if something you don't want, what do you want instead? And focusing on that is absolutely the number one thing that I continually catch myself and go, okay, if I don't want that, what do I want instead?
Change.
If I want to, that is the big one, is focus on what you want. And actually, for the most part, it's the positive stuff it does turn out to be true. There's always exceptions. I get that. And keeping my eyes on the positive is the thing that it keeps me going.
Yeah, good for you. Fantastic. And is there any book or anything? Sorry?
And walking on beaches. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I bang on about that all the time. Are there any books that you would recommend?
Dr. David Hamilton's How the Mind Can Heal the Body. Absolutely fantastic book. And that really cemented my understanding of kind of the science. And it was the precursor to doing some of Joe's work. That's a really good book. If you're in, that's probably the big one. How the Mind Can Heal Your Body.
Yeah, brilliant.
I've read loads of other books, but that's the one that I go definitely worth a read.
Yeah, because I think that's the main thing that we miss out on, is how our thoughts and our emotions and our perceptions and our beliefs can keep us stuck, whether it's in poverty, whether it's in a bad relationship, whatever it is, because we're not able to go, look, this is what I don't want. That's all the universe is telling me. Now, what do I want? So it's being able to swing your thinking and your thoughts to that. So instead of saying I'm tired or I'm knackered, it's like, what would it take for me to have a lot more energy? I'm in the process of getting more energy. So it's just that simple 180-degree shift on what we're thinking about and talking about. And I think
And
the mind stuff is where all the magic really lies, you know, in the...
Absolutely. And not believing everything we think.
Yes, exactly. Right, well, thank you so much. And we'll keep up with your progress, and maybe within the next year or so, we can have another chat.
Absolutely.
So thanks so much. And that's us for this week. I'm going to put the links to the book that we've recommended and anything else that we talked about. Maybe the fast as well. You could, I mean, I know a 21-day water fast would terrify the living days out of a lot of people. But maybe, you know, for the ones that are ready for it, that are willing to take these big steps, because it is very much, isn't it, about what are you willing or not willing to do? And you've clearly been very willing.
And on that fasting front, Jason Fung's fasting book is brilliant.
Right.
And
Okay.
a couple of people I know who've done 1 or 2 day fasting. One person did a 2-day water fast and cured their asthma.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 days. So
That's the way. It doesn't have to be complicated.
no.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.